Does everything in your business feel duct taped together? It's because it probably is. And let me guess, you're exhausted because you're trying to scale chaos. When your business lacks systems, every day feels like putting out fires instead of using your vision to scale, to grow. So in this video, I'm going to show you the exact 15 systems I use in my business to go from in the weeds to organized. After years of feeling like the glue holding my business together, I built these systems one by one, and they've helped me and dozens of clients finally grow with confidence and with control. So to kick things off, let me show you the first system I built that shifted me from reactive to strategic. If you're a CEO without strategic systems, it's like you're trying to play every instrument in the orchestra, drums 1 minute, violin the next, while running backstage to adjust the lights. But that's not your job. Your job is to conduct. The conductor doesn't make the music alone, they bring it together. With the flick of a baton, they align rhythm, tone, and timing. They create harmony from complexity. But here's the secret. A conductor needs tools. So let me draw this out for you. For modern online entrepreneurs, especially women balancing businesses that want an organized business, those tools are your CEO clarity systems. Let's break them down. I'll show you what they look like in real life through a mompreneur who we'll call Jasmine, a body positivity coach, mom of 2, and a podcast host who uses Notion to organize her entire business. Number 1, the first CEO clarity system is your CEO dashboard. This is your high-level snapshot of your business focused on key metrics that tell you what's working and what needs attention. So think content metrics, freebie signups or lead magnet signups, landing page conversions, revenue, and anything else that signals the health of your business. So for myself, since implementing this dashboard, it's truly simplified what needs my attention urgently, because you don't want to have yourself spread so thin. You want to be able to know what to focus on and what are the biggest needle movers in my own business. I can see what content is working best for the business, and I even have eliminated entire marketing channels based on this data. But my pro tip is to keep it as simple and manual as possible. You want to streamline it to show those key metrics so it's fast to look at weekly, and you want to do it manually so your eyes don't just glaze over it. So each week, sit down and look at those key numbers on your dashboard, highlight areas that are doing well in green and problem areas in red. So I have my assistant aggregate all the data, and I'm the one that tags that green and red to make sure I'm not glossing over it. Okay, so let's walk through how our example Jasmine uses it. Every Monday, Jasmine opens her Notion CEO dashboard and checks her KPIs, which for her are the number of new coaching leads, podcast downloads, sales call conversions, client check-in rates, and hours worked. She doesn't wait for problems to bubble up. This dashboard helps her spot patterns early and course correct before burnout or bottlenecks hit. And here's a pro tip. This isn't your task list, it's your business's pulse monitor. One glance at this should tell you, where does my business need more of my focus and what should I do about it? Right, moving on to system number 2, the next system is your business brain or your business hub, your business operating system. This is a centralized home for all your business systems, your projects, strategy, branding, SOPs, and assets. Instead of it all being in your head or scattered across Google Drive, Docs, email, Canva, Systems.io, your notes app, and some random binder, it's all in one place. This alone took me from everything feeling in my business like it was duct taped together because it was all manual and scattered, to truly feeling organized and efficient in my business. It also helps me onboard new contractors and team members much easier as well, because I have a centralized system that is the hub essentially of my business. So let's look at how Jasmine, our example, uses her business brain, which lives in Notion within her personal second brain, because as I teach, everything should be integrated because we're one person. She stores it as a life area, and it's interconnected with other areas in her second brain, like her projects database. So her life feels integrated versus piecemeal inside. And she stores all her things in there, like her business vision, her strategy, her launch calendars, marketing workflows, client onboarding steps, tech setup for her membership site, and team training notes, just to note a few. When she brought on a VA, she didn't have to explain everything from scratch. She just shared a link, click, like magic. So my tip here is to start messy. You might even just begin with a how I run my business page. As you grow, you can naturally evolve it into a full-fledged ops hub. And if you want a business brain fully built out for you, I am running a free workshop next month called Productive Boss, where I will be giving away exclusive access to my business brain Notion templates to those that sign up. So I will leave a link in the description for the workshop. Okay, system number 3, the next CEO clarity system is your cash flow system. It's going to be a holistic system for managing your business money with intention, not just tracking what comes in and out, but allocating it based on purpose. So this isn't just bookkeeping, it's cash flow leadership. Think of it that way. So using principles from the book Profit First, which I highly recommend you read if you haven't, the idea is simple. Pay yourself first, assign every dollar a job, and design a system to protect your profit. A very simple way I did this when I first started out was each week in my operating expense count that received all my sales revenue, I only kept enough in that account to cover a month's worth of expenses. Anything over that each week, I transferred to my business emergency fund. Then when I had a business emergency fund of 3 months, I started dividing the overflow into half for my business taxes and business savings together, and the other half that was over each week into paying myself. Now, as my business has grown, this has changed a bit to include a seeking fund, savings account, and an investment account, and the percentages are a little bit different, but overall the concept is the same. So how does our mompreneur Jasmine use this? Before she implemented this system, Jasmine felt unsure every time she wanted to make a move. Should she invest in ads? Should she hire a coach? Could she take a week off? Now, the Profit First system that she uses during her bookkeeping each week helps her allocate her revenue across profit, which is her reward for being the owner, her owner's pay, her salary, her taxes, so no more surprises in April, her operating expenses to run the business, of course. So every time she gets paid, she distributes and funds intentionally. Instead of watching her money blur together in one big account, she takes cash flow leadership. So this one system gave her the clarity to hire her first VA, cover taxes in full, and finally pay herself consistently, even during slower months. Her husband stopped calling her business a hobby, and she felt pride knowing where her money was going. Pro tip, you don't need to have 5 bank accounts to start. Start simple, but then get intentional. I also use Ally online banking. I'm not a financial advisor, but this helped me. They have a high yield savings account, but they also allow you to break accounts into separate buckets. In my savings account, you could have your tax savings and then just your business savings. It could be one account, but there's different buckets so that you're not dipping into the other versus having all these actual separate accounts, which I know the book Profit First mandates. I like the way they do it where you can have buckets within accounts. So just a little tip if you want to check it out, do your research, but I have really liked using them for business banking, business savings. Up next is what I call your boss system matrix. So let me show you how this works. This system helps you filter tasks that you want to do as a founder, CEO, business owner, however you call yourself, by how you coded they are, how much do they light you up, how much are they in your zone of genius, how much are they things that you actually enjoy, or how much are they things that only you can do. And then on the other axis is how much do they impact the business in a positive way, largely by revenue. So those are the two things, you coded and business impact. And when we filter things through this boss matrix, you're focused only what you can do. So let me walk you through this matrix when you're deciding what you should be putting on your plate as a business owner. So the first quadrant we have is this bottom left, which is low you coded and low impact on the business. This I call the swamp, and this should be eliminated. They're not things that you enjoy. They're not bringing impact to the business, or maybe just things that you've been doing because you were told you should be doing them, but they are not really helpful. So this is like a swamp of false productivity. For me, this was letting go of Instagram. I didn't really enjoy it. It wasn't having much impact to the business. Just was told I need to be doing it. So I was doing all the things. So eliminate those things in the swamp. So the next we have is highly you coded and not as impactful to the business. I call this the candy bowl. And these I want you to do sparingly. So these are things that you actually do enjoy, but they don't really have a high impact on the business. So you might not eliminate them because they bring you joy. It's something that you find impactful, but you don't want to be spending too much time there, wasting your time on low value tasks when it comes to the impact of your business. These are things like me, I would consider responding to comments or things that I enjoy, but they're not as impactful on the business, just spending all my time in the comments, right? So I put a timer on myself to do this 30 minutes a week, and I get to enjoy like communicating with people that are actually watching my videos, reading my emails, but I'm also not spending so much time there that it distracts me. Next, we have what I call the engine room, which is highly impactful for the business, but it is low you coded. And these are SAD days. These are systemize, automate, or delegate. And these are things in the engine room that are important for the business. They're the engine of a boat, if you can think about that. But they're not things that you totally enjoy, or maybe you enjoy, but you aren't that great at it. So for me, I do actually enjoy editing YouTube videos, but I'm not that great at it. And it takes me so long. So it's not in my zone of genius to do those things. So that is something that I have outsourced to my video editor. Thank you, Angel. So that's an example of things in the engine room. These are things that need to get done for the business, but they're not in your U-coded element. So you're either going to systemize them so they take as little time as possible. You're going to automate them with software if possible. And if you're able to do, I would start with that, delegate. You're going to offload them to someone who's better at it than you. Okay, so let's move to this top right corner, which is highly U-coded and highly impactful on the business. This is the CEO flow zone. And these are things that are very U-coded, or things only you can do that have a high impact on the business. And what you're going to do with these is you're going to use the 10-80-10 rule that I learned from Dan Martell, author of Buy Back Your Time. You're still not going to spend all your time on these tasks because as the business owner, you have only so much of you to give. So you're going to start with the first 10%. So if I think about creating this video, I'm going to write the script, I'm going to film, then I'm going to hand the bulk of it off to my editor and get help with the graphics, say the thumbnail, that kind of stuff. And then I do the last 10%, which is to make final revisions, that kind of thing. You could also think of it with like developing a product. You have your vision, you have your design, you have your IP, everything that you want to go into this, and then you outsource 80% of actually bringing it to life as far as manufacturing, supply, that kind of thing. You could also think of it on much simpler tasks as well, but the idea is you do the first 10%, you outsource to the middle 80%, and then you come back at the end to do the last 10%. But there is also this zone up here in the corner, which I call are for visionary tasks, and these you're going to 100%. They're highly you and highly impactful on the business, things like developing the vision for the company, the strategy, those sorts of things that only you and your partners can do. Those visionary tasks are going to be 100% you. So let's talk about how our mompreneur Jasmine uses this system. Before this, everything felt urgent. Jasmine was doing client work, editing podcast reels, managing the email inbox, and barely finding time to actually grow her business. Now, with this matrix system, each week she drops her running to-do list into 4 categories. Do now, the CEO priorities, delegate her VA tasks, delay, so non-urgent tasks, and delete, dead weight. This matrix has helped her protect her genius zone, which is coaching, marketing, and vision, while building a stronger support team around her. And a bonus tip is to create a someday maybe project in your Notion second brain for those great ideas that can't go into the matrix just yet, but you don't want to lose. That way you keep your great ideas, but you don't get distracted. Okay, number 5, your last system in the CEO clarity system is your capture system. This is your second brain. This system is getting in the constant habit of capturing what's on your mind into your second brain, mine is in Notion, instead of trying to keep everything in your head. And your capture system is really about utilizing your idea in your task inbox. This is a trusted place to drop in your thoughts, your notes, your inspiration, and your to-dos so that your brain doesn't have to hold it all and you can get rid of all that mental clutter and any mental chaos. So let's talk about our example Jasmine and how she might use this. She's got a Notion inbox page that catches everything. Content hooks that she thinks about while walking, client feedback, podcast quotes, affirmations, everything. And if she has more than a couple seconds, she can just capture her ideas within the appropriate project or resource folder. This lets her focus during the day and process later when it's time to write, plan, or reflect. And a bonus tip is if you want the exact second brain Notion template that I use, check out the link in the description. So now you've got the clarity piece. Your head is above water. You can see the big picture and you're finally making decisions like a CEO. But there's one thing that clarity alone can't give you: consistency. You know the vision, you know what matters, but what about the day-to-day demands of showing up, serving your people, and keeping momentum alive? This next piece is what turns your strategy into visible results without requiring more hustle, more guesswork, or more of your time. And to explain it, let me give you an example. Imagine walking into a bakery. You see the head baker crafting beautiful recipes, testing flavors, checking inventory. Clearly, they're the visionary behind it all. But then then she's also scooping flour, frosting cupcakes, answering the phone, delivering cakes across town, and handwriting every receipt. No conveyor belt, no support, just raw talent doing all the things every day on repeat. Now here's the problem. Even if the recipes are perfect, even if the vision is strong, the business won't scale without a smooth, repeatable system behind it. That's where most entrepreneurs get stuck. They've built the kitchen, they figure out what they're serving, but what they don't have yet is the conveyor belt. And that's exactly what this next set of system gives you. This is your marketing and delivery flow. And what these give you are predictable growth, effortless execution, the repeatable engine that keeps your business running even when you step away. So let's walk through the 5 systems in this category and how our mompreneur Jasmine uses them. So the first one in this category is the content planning system. So a content planning system is for mapping and organizing your content so it builds momentum without requiring constant reinvention. For me, I have content systems for my YouTube, my newsletter, and I cannot imagine running my business without it because I am never starting from scratch when I sit down to make content. I can't even imagine doing that. So let's take a look at how our example Jasmine uses it. Inside Notion, Jasmine plans her content quarterly. She outlines themes based on her program, events, and launches, then breaks them down into weekly posts, podcasts, episodes, and emails. She tags each piece by the funnel stage and format so she can repurpose intentionally and avoid repeating herself. Pro tip is don't aim for perfect. Start with a launch calendar and a content calendar and focus on what can you document to make each of those processes easier each time that you sit down to create, like using templates, using checklists, those sorts of things. The second system in this category is your lead magnet system. A lead magnet system is what helps you consistently turn strangers into community with a freebie that speaks directly to your audience's pain point. This is pretty popular in the marketing world, but many people don't have a system for it. It's a follow-up flow that nurtures that relationship, and having systems makes it so much easier. For me, this system lives inside my Notion Business Hub, where I have a documented process for creating landing pages and thank you pages, storing freebies and their links, and creating the delivery email for those freebies. So let's take a look at how Jasmine uses it. Jasmine offers a body confidence blueprint PDF as her lead magnet. It lives on a Notion built landing page and connects to an automatic email sequence that shares her story, results, and how to work with her. She tracks opt-in performance inside her CEO dashboard that we talked about, and she had her VA document the entire process in an SOP that lives in her Notion business brain. So start by documenting one lead magnet from landing page copy to the follow-up emails. Once that's systemized, you can reuse the structure for new offers without starting from scratch. Third system in this category is your copy manual, which this has been a game-changing system for me. A copy manual is your personal brand language bank filled with your go-to phrases, headlines, taglines, and objections you respond to over and over. For me, this has been a game changer. Like I said, when I'm launching, writing emails, or creating a sales page, I'm always looking at this copy manual, even when creating weekly content. I don't have to dig through old documents or rewrite from memory. It's all in one spot, organized and ready to go. I also have a page dedicated to customer voice hacking, where I store viewer comments, customer feedback, and email replies to better be able to use my customers' language, my avatar's language, when speaking to your pain points and your desires. I have so many things in there that help me just build my copy so I don't have to keep it all in my head. This is an idea that I got from Ashlyn Wrights, and it has been a total game changer for me. So here's how Jasmine uses it. Inside Notion, she keeps a copy manual organized by product funnel stage and use case. It includes things like her favorite subject lines, swipe files of favorite copy, common objections with answers, DMs to repurpose, and testimonials. When it's time to write a sales post or to respond to a hesitant lead, she's not starting from scratch. She's pulling from her best lines that she knows works. So to get started with your own copy manual, start capturing lines that you love as you write them, or screenshot great responses in your DMs and drop them in your copy manual. You'll build a rich library just paying attention to your own words. And then you'll also have this source, like whenever you maybe outsource to a copywriter or some help to get these things done when it's not just you, they'll have a whole copy guide of your brand voice, customer voice hacking, swipe files, copy headlines that have worked great, so they're not just starting from scratch as well. Okay, the fourth system in this category is customer support and a bot system. So this system is all about bring up your inbox by automating the most common questions. So you or your team only need to step in when it actually requires attention. For me, this looked like creating a centralized frequently asked questions in Notion and building a simple chatbot using that information. It cut down on the back and forth emails a lot, and I was able to hand that off to my VA easily because not only does she have an entire database of FAQs from customers and students, she has a chatbot that I trained to help her respond to customer support, largely on like minuscule things like changing widgets in the Notion template that I answer a lot. And we're also integrating those into the delivery of systems. So you also learn, once you have a database of customer frequently asked questions, you can say, okay, this is getting asked a lot, like how to change the weather widget. Maybe I should add this to my second brain PDF download when people purchase so they don't have to email me about it. So thank you if you have emailed me about that. And it's something I'm changing based on seeing it so many times in my FAQs. Okay, so let's get back to Jasmine. Here's how Jasmine sets it up. She created a client help hub in Notion with answers to the top 10 questions that she gets. So these are things like how to access her coaching portal, what to do if you miss a session in her group coaching, how to update billing info. She then connected it to a chatbot that lives on her website and inside her member dashboard. If someone needs more help, it escalates them to her VA. So don't overthink this. Start by writing out your top 5 FAQs. Those answers can live in a Google Doc, a Notion page, or even in your email signature. So you can just create email signatures for them and respond with that signature. Start off simple. Okay, the 5th system is your email response system. This is exactly what it sounds like. Pre-written email signatures for things you or your team have to say over and over again. This is kind of similar to the previous system. So for me, this includes things like onboarding clients, client check-ins, refund responses, and what I call boundary reminders. If you work with me, you know what I mean by that. So having these ready to go saves so much time, especially when I was a solopreneur. So here's how Jasmine, our example entrepreneur, does it. She built multiple email signatures, which she internally calls client comms, with templated responses organized by category: payment, support, logistics, and launch responses. Her VA can simply click the right signature and customize to respond as efficiently as possible. As for how you can start applying this, build this library as you go. Every time you write an email, you know you'll probably send again. Save it as a signature or save it in a database that you can copy and paste. You're not being lazy, you're being efficient. Then you can just pull from these and then just personalize them. So now you've got the strategy, you've got the systems in place to show up and serve and sell consistently. But here's the thing no one talks about. Consistency without protection equals burnout. So Jasmine had systems. Her audience was growing, her business was running, but her life, her calendar, her energy, she still felt like it was all a disaster. Because here's the truth. Even the best systems collapse if your time and energy aren't protected. And that brings us to this next category. Imagine your business as a thriving castle. The inside is buzzing, there's structure, flow, people are being served. You've built something strong. But if you leave the front gate wide open, you'll be interrupted constantly. The wrong people will wander in your castle, fires will start, and suddenly, instead of leading like a queen, you're scrambling around, putting out torches and yelling over the noise. That's what it's like to grow a business without protecting your time, your focus, and boundaries. You don't need more motivation, you need a better gate. And that's exactly what this next set of systems is all about. And these I'm calling your time-saving systems. So these really time and team systems. These are the systems that guard your calendar, protect your focus, and give your business the ability to scale, to grow, without sacrificing your peace. The first system here is the 3-7 time blocking method that I created and teach. This isn't just time blocking. This is my signature 3-7 method I created specifically for ambitious women who want to get everything done without burning out. So here's how it works. You structure your week into 3 main blocks: morning, work, and evening. So everything in your life has a place. Then inside your blocks, you build 7 routines that repeat each day to support both your life and your business. My morning block includes my early morning routine and my morning routine for myself and for my family. My work block includes my AM routine for deep work, my lunch routine, which usually also includes errands, my PM work routine for deep work again, and my wind down work routine. And then my evening block simply includes my evening routine, again, for me and my family. So you can see it's like a sandwich with the bread pieces being about you and your family. This method was born out of my own experience as a new mom, a neuropsychologist, and a business owner who refused to choose between my goals and my peace. I have entire videos on it too, where I talk in depth about other creators and people that I researched that inspired it. So I have that entire video that goes more into depth, but let's take a look at how Jasmine uses it. She time blocks her days inside her planner using the 3-7 framework. Her morning starts with 2 routines: early morning for herself and morning for her family and her home. During her work block, she moves through 4 routines: a focused AM work session, lunch and errands, a PM deep work session and a wind down work routine where she clears her decks and she resets her mind for the next day and for the evening. Then she ends the day with an evening block that includes her family's dinner, bedtime routines, and her own self-care routine. If you're just getting started, focus on your evening routine first. Learning to turn off work and getting better rest will set you up for success when you begin incorporating the morning block and the work blocks the next day. The second system here is my BBB method for weekly batching. This is my signature time organization system that helps you stop stretching yourself so thin and finally find a weekly rhythm that works with your real life. I have entire videos on this, but quickly here, BBB stands for booking, batching, and buffering. It's a layered method that makes sure you're protecting your priorities and your peace. So let me break it down for you. Booking is where you're going to start. You book your non-negotiables. These are things like appointments and recurring weekly routines that keep you and your family running. You're going to start with those. These live in your digital calendar and act like anchors for your week. So those appointments that you can't miss, and then those weekly routines that you don't want to skip. Then you have batching. This is how you organize the rest. You theme your days so your tasks are grouped by type, like admin, content creation, meetings, or deep work. That way you're not switching hats 100 times a day. It saves time, it protects your energy, and it gives your brain the clarity you need to focus. Then we have blocking. Blocking is where you will use my 3-7 time blocking method to time block your days for each batch day. So let's look at how Jasmine applies this in her business. She books all her must-dos and weekly routines like client calls, podcast releases, and her Friday CEO hour into her Google Calendar. Then in her paper planner, she plans to do tasks for that week around her must-dos using her themed batch days. Mondays are for admin, Tuesdays are for client sessions, Wednesdays are for content, and Fridays are for filming and weekly review. And she always keeps a few hours open on Thursdays for overflow and for catch up. That's her buffer. Okay, moving on. The third system in this category is your weekly non-negotiables that we just touched on briefly as a part of your must-dos. Okay, weekly non-negotiables are the backbone of my productivity system. These are the recurring tasks and routines that keep your life and your business running, no matter what the week throws at you. They're not optional. They're not nice to have. They're the rhythms that protect your sanity, your systems, and your family's flow. And there are two types of non-negotiables that I teach in my BB method. I touched on these a little bit just now. One are those must-dos, which I just mentioned, things like appointments, meetings, deadlines with clear consequences if you miss them. So those are one, must-dos. And then two are the weekly routines I mentioned, things that keep your life and your business healthy, like meal planning, zone cleaning, content publishing, or your weekly review. These get booked into your digital calendar as recurring events, and they're like the placeholders, the containers. They're the only things alongside your meetings and appointments that I recommend that you keep in your digital calendar. And this is because your digital calendar should not be for managing projects or for time blocking. As a neuropsychologist, I know that your brain will eventually just see all of that as clutter. It's just the way we work. So every week when I plan, I transfer these digital placeholders into my paper planner to ground my schedule and to avoid overwhelm. So let's look at how Jasmine applies this system. Each Sunday, she reviews her digital calendar and moves her must-dos like client calls, a podcast interview, and her bookkeeping meeting into her weekly planner. Then she adds her weekly routines, her meal plan, her grocery run on Sunday. Her weekly review is on Friday. She puts that in. She also puts in a 1-hour declutter session on Saturday and a CEO check-in every Monday morning. Because they're already in her digital calendar, she doesn't have to decide when they'll happen. They'll just be part of her rhythm. So start by writing down 3 to 5 things that, if done every week, would keep your life and your business and your family flowing. Add those to the calendar as repeating events, and then let them be the structure that you build your to-do list around and not the other way around. Okay, the fourth system here is your business manual and SOP system. This is your business playbook, the step-by-step how-tos for recurring tasks so that you and your team don't have to guess, and this is going to live in your business brain or your business hub. For me, I document these inside my Notion business hub, everything from onboarding clients to launching a product. It really saves me time and keeps things consistent, which is so helpful when you have a million things going on as an entrepreneur, mom, wife, neuropsychologist, all the things. So let's talk about Jasmine. She started by recording herself doing key tasks using Loom, like onboarding a new client or scheduling content, and turned those into simple checklists in Notion. When she brought on her virtual assistant, she didn't have to train them from scratch. She just shared the link to the videos and the checklists. And here's a pro tip for you. Don't try to SOP everything. Start with the tasks that you hate re-explaining or that you keep forgetting how to do yourself, and build from there as needed. Okay, the fifth system in this category is your weekly review system. This is the system that closes the loop. It's where you reflect, assess, and realign, so you're not just staying busy, but actually staying on track. For me, I use a hybrid system based on the book Getting Things Done and my own review prompts inside Notion. If you want a free copy of my Notion Getting Things Done weekly review checklist, I'll link it in the description below. So here's how Jasmine uses opposite. Every Friday, she opens her weekly review template in Notion. She checks in with her goals, clears her inboxes, and plans her week. With these 5 systems in place, Jasmine's time is no longer leaking out in 100 different directions. Her week has a rhythm. Her team knows what to do. Her energy is protected, because the truth is, scaling your business doesn't require more hours. It requires better systems to protect the ones that you've got. If all these systems feel overwhelming, don't forget to sign up for my free workshop, Productive Boss, coming next month, where I will walk you through how to implement these systems. Plus, you'll get exclusive access to my Business Hub Notion template. You can sign up at the link below. And if you're a busy woman balancing work at home, you know that being efficient at work is just half the battle. If you want to know how I balance scaling a business while not dropping the ball at home, watch this playlist next, where I'll walk you through my exact systems. Until next time, cheers to planning, manifesting, and enjoying your dream life. Namaste.